All right, I'm super excited about this one. This one is my concept rifle, um, which I've just dubbed it the EE-TR3. Um, but this is based off of the concept artwork that was done for the unreleased Star Wars 1313 game. The rifle that the concept artist did was unbelievably awesome, and I took a lot of inspiration from that and added a lot more details. Where I took a lot of inspiration from different old World War II machine guns, heavy machine guns, different things like that, just for some different features and really cool things. So as we go through and build this, I'll kind of point out those features and get some of this stuff out of my way because there's a lot here, a lot for us to get done. The main barrel does have um, hollow steel rods in the barrel. Let me go ahead and get some of this stuff off the table, and we're going to start probably where we started on the EE3, and we're just going to do the stock real quick and the stock bracket so we can get that off the table and out of the way because that all bolts on and everything. By the way, just one of the features is like the mag under this is completely hollow. I did make passages throughout this entire rifle for electronics, all the way from the end, all the way down into the mag to the underbarrel. The foregrip I made hollow that has a cover that goes on it that has some vents that you can see through. You know, do whatever you want to do on that. Let's see. So we're going to need these pieces here. Now it comes with a bunch of parts here. Let me get these out of the way. I really don't have a big enough build table video wise to capture all of it at one time. So when we're done, I also have the painted version that Michael from Fan Fiction Props did over here behind me. And so at the end of this, I'll show you what it looks like all done up, and it looks absolutely badass. Make a little bit more room here. Got the tubing for the scope and the scope lenses that we have in here. Bag of screws. Let's see. I need to get the stock gribbles out of here. Go ahead and get the smalls out here. There's the stock gribbles. Some more of the other stuff. There's the little missile rack gribbles for the body. Scope knobs. All that good stuff. Anyways, so here's where we're at. Let me get the glue over here. On this stock, I'm sorry if I go too fast, or if y'all have watched the E3, I repeat some stuff, but the assembly is the same for the E3 for the stock. So I'm going to make some of the same points that I've made before. Let's get our screws out here. Get this off to the side. Get our springs. We'll have 2 long springs and 1 short spring. Bunch of screws. So this is only my second time going through and actually assembling one, other than the very first test print. The second one I got off to Michael at Fan Fiction so he could get started on the paint job. I got another one that's already been sent out to go to Wolfguard Weapons. wolfguardweapons.com. They sell all my kits fully assembled and painted. So if you want one already painted and done up, they're the ones to contact. All right, so let's get this over here. First, the stock is 2 pieces. I did put a seam in here because there's no option for like not doing it without a seam, because the back is curved and everywhere's curved on it. So basically, in a nutshell, very easy to go together. Michael said on both the EE-3 and on this rifle that it was very easy to get rid of the seam line. It basically disappeared when he was just from the priming. And of course, my glue is stopped up. I actually left it setting out when I was doing the other assembly video earlier. There we go. All right, anyways, this is CA glue, so everybody knows right off the bat. It's 2-part glue, and an activator. You can use thick super glue, works exactly the same, perfectly fine. As far as the stock goes, and I may do a kind of a crappy job trying to assemble this, but I'm trying to also not make the video super duperly long for everybody. So get to the point, show y'all how to do this. Sorry, I'm pressing this together off camera. But the seam's very minor. Actually didn't do a very good job pressing it together, so me myself would be doing some extra priming and sanding there. The gribbles, if you notice on here, there is a raised edge. This raised edge goes to the back of the stock. So just make sure you get it there. It's the same on both sides. And like normal, I've had way too much coffee before doing this, that's pretty much every day. But if we didn't work 24 hours a day, what would we do? Okay, on the small gribbles for the front of the stock, there is, try to see if you can see it, there's a big hole. No big hole. Big hole goes to the front. So just like that. So we're going to get on here. I apologize for my shaky hands and stuff. It is too much caffeine, too late in the evening, too many hours already under my belt. So there you go, already set up. We're going to flip this, do the same thing, turn our gribble around, make sure that the edge, the raised edge is towards the back. Also, some of y'all may wonder, this stock is excessively thick. It's very stout. I mean, it is. It's the stock itself is probably almost a pound. So if y'all are familiar with 3D printing filament, y'all's normal little 1 kilogram roll, that's 2.2 pounds. So this is half of one of those little rolls almost right there. So some little support material. The stock bracket is extremely thick. Extremely thick. I think it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I think it's like 10 walls thick, and top bottom's about the same. Wanted some flex still in it, but to be super duper strong. Because again, you know, it's just a long rifle. We do want to maintain some flex. You don't want to take the flex out of everything. We get the proper screws here. We should have 3 flat blade screws that are all the same length. These little 3 cheese head flat blade screws. Double check my sheet here. I think it's the 25 millimeter ones. which 25 millimeters is roughly close to an inch. So if you're not familiar with millimeters and you want to measure, it's right at an inch from the bottom of the head to the end. These will be the three that are used here, and the one that goes through here into the grip and screws the grip on to this side of the body. And I'll do that in a second. While I'm doing this, reiterate like I do in every video, these long-winded screws. Okay, first and foremost, do not use a power screwdriver, drill, or anything to put screws into anything that's plastic, let alone 3D printed. I don't care if it's ABS, nylon, whatever. You will generate enough frictional heat that you will distort stuff. Doesn't matter what it is. You can hand screw a screw too fast and overheat nylon. So if you know, that's pretty hot. So what I do is I always screw my screws in about halfway and start on another screw just to let it cool a little bit. And these are long-winded because, of course, I wanted as much thread as possible because this is a high-tension area. All right, let that set for a sec. And now I'm going to be extremely steady here. And these in. Flat blade screws, the bane of my existence. All right, we're going to get over here to the other one, let that cool off. And what I do is I end up screwing these in until, well, if I don't jab a hole in everything, until they're like one turn away from being tight, and then I let them cool for a minute. That way the threads have time to fully form, which when they're done forming, they become incredibly strong. Take forever. I know I'm blocking the view here, but me actually screwing the screw in is, you know, it's nothing wondrous. Just like you guys going, oh, why do we got to use flat blade screws? Because that's what the original had. Let those cool for a minute. But anyways, the whole point is now when it's done is we are fully like threaded from this side to here, and it makes. And again, I'll go ahead while we're waiting on that. Is you can glue this bracket onto the stock. I don't glue mine because it allows, once this is down, it will allow flexing here. If you glue it down, you're going to put all the flexing in here. There's nothing bad about having it flex there. Allows you to lay your rifle down. You can be holding it, somebody bump you, you know, that whole thing. And just some flex is good. Some of you might not be okay with that. You can glue it down. It's not going to hurt anything. The bracket is extremely strong. I also like it because you can take this back apart if need be. If you have some kind of catastrophic accident and you break something on these back parts like this, you know, take it apart, contact me. We can get you a replacement part. I'll let it cool for a second. Most of y'all are hitting skip right about now. I don't blame you. Boy, you can torque the crap out of those too when they get down there. But there, and see, you've got, and let me see, you've got flex in there, which is good. Let's glue our last little dribble on. Big hole forward. I just had to double check again my little diagram. But I'm so freaking pumped about this rifle. This thing is, I love this thing so much. It is so freaking cool. It's just, there's so many details, and especially once I get this done and I show you the painted, how the painting just brings it all together, and it's just so damn cool. Okay, on this, on the real flare gun, which I also did the flare gun kit, and I have it up too. All of the connections are the same. It's got the notch down here, which notches into the body. That locks all this together. Now, on the real one, there's just the one screw it goes through, and it screws into the grip, and that's the only thing that holds it together. Well, with, of course, this not being steel or metal or anything, we wanted to decrease the amount of movement at all in here. So what I did was, from this side, I actually put 2 holes to put 2 Phillips screws in. And that's just one thing, again, allow you to take it apart instead of gluing it all together. Put those in, put that screw in there. You don't have to glue any of that together. Let me grab my trusty little set. Started. And some of y'all will be tempted. You'll be like, God, the screws take forever. Let me just grab this drill or this power screwdriver, and just don't do it. Don't do it, because when you're sitting there spinning that screw and it never stops spinning, and you want to start looking around and asking, huh, what's happening? Just remember me telling you, don't do it. Don't do it. Man up. Screw in a couple screws. Go have a beer after you get done. Come back. Well, go have a beer if you're of age, and then come back. All right. So now all we have to do is put the grip on. So the grip is just the last singular flat blade that was the same size that went into there. This one's not so bad. It doesn't actually start really cutting any threads until it gets to the grip. Because again, I took all the pressure off of it and put the pressure onto those Phillips screws. So this is more just, well, again, just to hold the grip on there. And I know I'll be asked, people say, well, did you make it to where we can remove the barrel for transporting? The cool part about this is you need to remove one screw, and you basically can take the rifle in half, make it 2 pieces. And it's literally the big screw. There we go. Ain't going nowhere. It'll be the big screw that is where the barrel breaks over. It's a big this screw. If you unscrew that, you can take it apart into 2 pieces. You don't have to worry about springs or, you know, nothing getting in the way like that. Okay, real quick while we're here, there is this is the same eye bolt that I put in the Mandalorian rifle and in some other things. And this will allow you to hang this from a harness or whatever. Michael with Fanfiction Props, his 1313, his Mando set, everything has the matching D-ring that goes with this. And it allows the entire rifle to hang from it And I will get it in here in a minute. Got to get it started. And then, here we go. All you need to do is take an Allen wrench or something. Kind of watch it as you get it started in there. And once it has started digging and cutting, take your time. Don't go too fast. My dog is going crazy behind me on a new chew. I gave her a new chew so she would leave me alone long enough to do this because it's late in the evening. And if I go to talking, she's going to be like, who are you talking to? And she's going to start with her whole nudging me and stuff. Yeah. And if any of y'all were wondering, hey, is this eye bolt going to hold anything? Yeah. Yeah. It'll hold the whole weight of the rifle. You're not going to get that out. You'll break the rifle before you get that back out of there. So, and don't go fast for that because it has got some deep threads on it and it's digging. So just go slow. We want it tight. We want a good solid rough fit. So, okay, we are going to go ahead. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the trigger, the hammer, and we'll need one long spring and then the half spring. And then let me find or release that for those. So you have two more screws, identical screws. They're the only ones. They're 14 millimeters long, flat blade. I'm a good chunk away. Come on, focus. Focus. There we go. They are cheesehead, 14 millimeter. There's only two of them. They will be for the hammer and the trigger. What we need to do is we need to go ahead and glue the back of the hammer on. It will only go one way correctly. You could screw up and glue it on the wrong way, but it'll only go on one way correctly. So we'll go ahead and just, come on, put us a little bit, oh, snap. It might have been a little bit more than a little bit. Wipe all that off before I hit it with activator. All right. Okay. First thing we're going to do is the trigger. We need the small spring. There's a hole on the top of the trigger. If you take the small spring and you twist it counterclockwise, whoop, without dropping it, it will go all the way down in the hole. If I can stop dropping it and hold on to it. There we go. Okay. Now you're going to take it. There's a hole right there that it's going to set in. So we're going to take this and put that in there. What you want to do is you want to look through and you want to line that hole up just like that. Hold your tongue just right to the side of your mouth. How many of y'all just did that? Because I did. As soon as I said it, I did it. Didn't even mean to. Okay. Went right in. Center that. And now this one, it pretty much only digs in when you get to the other side. These don't torque these down. They're not made to be torqued because it's made to, you're going to be assembling this after you paint, so there's a little bit of slack in there because the paint will increase the size of the hole. But there we go. We have a working trigger. Now the hammer is the same way. If you notice, there's like this fang looking hole, and that is where the spring ends up. But before that, down in the body, I'll try to get it to where you can see it. Right back there, there's a hole. And it's not, this isn't, you know, a difficult thing. If you just aim it back there, whoops. See, I say it's not difficult. It's not difficult. And I drop it. There you go. Anyways, so it just sits there. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the fangs, slide that into the hole. Now with the hammer, just take the hammer and you got to pull the trigger to get it locked in. Go ahead and set it to where the firing pin's coming through the hole, like where it would already be. Then just look through there and line up your hole, which it's lined up right now just because that's its natural setting point. I know my hands are shaking. I swear it's also the frame rate that makes the shakiness look of my hands even worse. Because even though this is at like 60 FPS, so much worse. All right, so there we go. Worked just like it's supposed to. All right. So we're going to go ahead and put on the trigger guard. The trigger guard over here, you've got a little short cheese head. Come on, light. Come on. Little short cheese head screw, 6 millimeters. And then another one of the 10 millimeter long, camera, Phillips screws. Okay. And the 10 millimeter Phillips is the same that we used for the two on there. So what we're going to do now is there is a hole that comes through the top that will match up with that hole in the trigger guard. And then on the bottom, we have another hole, and we have a hole here. So the screw that's exposed is the flat blade because that's the correct screw. And then we put a Phillips because we just are tired of using flat blade screws. And cheese head flat blade screws, the cheese head ones and the Philister ones are very expensive. So we're going to go ahead and you can run your finger right down this edge and make sure that it's just setting square. Go ahead and give it a little twist. Set our little flat blade in there. Get the other screwdriver. All right, find the hole. There we go. All right. Now we don't want to jab anything. And I mean, also a note, you guys may want to pre-assemble some of this stuff and then take it back apart and paint. Even though there'll be paint that gets down in the threads that you made, it will still make it a little bit easier when you screw it together. So maybe lessen the chance of slipping off and gouging your paint. Because if this was painted, I would just gouge the piss out of my paint, and then I really would have been mad. So there's that. The last thing that we need to do on this section is the barrel release. And we need the barrel release, we need the long spring, and then the last, well, I don't want to say last, but it's another fillet or another flat blade. I can't think right now. Come on, focus. Another flat blade. I think this one is 35 millimeters long, by 1.5 inches, not quite 1.5 inches. The only other flat blade left is the big one that will actually attach the full body together there. So what we're going to do here is, if you notice, there's a hole up inside of the barrel release. and there is a hole right here on the top of the body. Okay, right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this spring, turn it counterclockwise, which makes it pop down in the hole better. We're going to take this, and you see the rails right here? There's matching rails right there. So we're going to take this, we're going to put that on the rails. We're going to go up, oh, sorry, also cock that back because that has to be cocked back. Make sure when you go on that the spring goes in the upper hole and we're all good. And just push it down. Now that screw right there, what we're going to do is we're going to take it, we're going to drop it straight through. And we are going to go ahead and tighten this down. And what that does is there is an oval slot in the body right there, and that allows for this action. And that's all the body release, that's all the barrel release is right there. All right, so I'm going to set this off to the side for the moment, because we got a lot more bigger stuff to build here. So let's go ahead and build the scope, because it's a big old sucker. And there's lots to cover with it, lenses and all that good stuff. On this scope, and you'll notice from the pictures, there's this black tubing that comes with the kit. This black tubing, let's get it out here and get this shiny bag out of the camera. So there's the lenses, and you'll just peel the paper off of those. This black tubing, of course, will go and get glued into the scope right there, and it goes down, and there's a matching little bracket it gets glued to, and it goes down to the mag, and it plugs into the side of the mag. Well, the thing about this, so let's see, if you see that hole right there, that hole actually passes through the body right there and comes out. So if you wanted to, you could substitute the black hose and put, get you a black wire or, whatever, that's got two wires inside. And if you wanted to, you could put like a little 3mm LED right there and have the wiring come down to inside of the mag, which has a butt-ton of room for batteries and all kinds of stuff. And if you wanted to, technically, you could light up the inside of the mag, which I think would be, I want to do one and light it up like red inside to where a little 3mm LED comes on and it's red. Oh man, I think that would be so badass. So many things that I want to do. One of these days, I will actually get to build my own and do this. So, well, actually, this will be my own. And I guess I could do that. Time though. Okay, so let's just get back to this right here. Okay, there is this, and what this is, what I simulated here was, this isn't actually like a hose or anything. This is more of, and how I modeled it and bent it was more kind of like a metal tube. Whether it serves a function from coming from the back of the scope up here to the front end of the scope, whatever that function may be. I'll have to clean that off in a second. But so it's kind of more like a tube, and I sculpted it like it was bent. Some of you guys may be familiar, did some mechanic work, kind of like a brake line and stuff. So that's kind of like a aluminum or a brass tube or whatever. And let's see, I think I need to clean out. I do. So, and some of these, stuff, I try to hit every one of these edges when I'm cleaning this stuff and bagging it. If most of y'all don't know what this is literally, they make these for metalworking, but also this one is for plastic, and you can get them at like Home Depot and stuff, and it's for cleaning up edges of like PVC pipes and plastic. It's actually a sharp little blade, but you can literally run it around the edge inside of something, and it will clean that edge right up. And it's very handy for doing any kind of model working or just any working in general. So See, so whoops, I'll put it together the right way. So there we go. So I cleaned up that edge, and you can, and that's the thing when you glue this, if you just make sure that you get that tubing lined up, man, the seam of the tubing basically disappears. And then we go over here, we put it on here, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get this glued together. I'm going to put a little bead of glue. Now on these things like this, normally I would spray the other half of the activator and stick it together, but I want a second to play with it and get my tube lined up. Gosh dang it. See, and this is why, because I'm moving every time I take my hand off of this, I'm moving the stupid thing. There we go. And of course, if I wasn't trying to hold it out for you guys to see, it'd be much easier for me to do because I could have it up here where I could work on it. Oh, here, let's really activate it. Come on. Oh, I got plenty in there. All right. Okay. So let's double check this one here. Make sure it lines up perfect. It does. Okay. So let's get us more globs of glue. And I always put the glue on the inside because if you put the glue on the shaft of anything, when you push the shaft in, it's going to scrape the glue off, and you'll end up with 90% of it on the outside. So you always want to put the glue where the shaft's going. Second. I'll go ahead and set up. All right, so there is the bulk of the scope. We're going to put the scope knobs on, and we'll put the lenses in. No, never mind. I was about to say, actually, I'm only going to put the rear lens in and leave the front one out because later I may go back and do something to my scope. But I'll reprint a whole new scope if I end up wanting to put a light in my scope or whatever. But we good? Yep, we're good. Okay. So now we have 3 scope knobs. 2 of them are identical in height, and one of them is shorter and diameter is smaller. If you look at the scope, you've got 2 holes that are the same, and then the other one's smaller. So you can't put the bigger ones in there. Now you can put this one in any of these, but it's all loose and wonky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these bad boys over with the bottoms facing up. And go ahead and put some glue a couple of these holes out. It's not what I wanted to do. All right, and put one there. Set for a second. Okay. So there, those are on. And then we're going to get our other one. Gently had glue on my pinky. There we go. Gluing my pinky down. Okay. So, all right. All right, so there we go. We are all good. Knobs are all secured. All that good stuff. All right. So on the lenses, what I do is I will peel one side off. Most likely I'll get a fingerprint on there, but that's okay. It's the last side that I peel that I don't want to get the fingerprints on. because you know once you glue these in, you're not going to get your fingerprints off if they're on the inside. So, and I don't put glue down on the edge that I'm going to drop these in on because it'll squish out. And also, this is one of those situations you need to pay attention if you're using super glue. If you're using hot super glue, which basically the kind that it smokes as it dries, you don't want to use that to put these in. Find you like a rubbery glue or something, because that smoke will stain these lenses, and you'll never get the stain off. What I do on these lenses, and it doesn't cut, it's not always perfect, but I do just enough to get on the edge. And I'm being very sloppy about this. Normally I take like a toothpick, put glue on the edge of a toothpick and roll the edge. But I just want to drop it in there. Oh my God, I screwed that one all up. Well, you'll get to see what it looks like when there's glue all over the front of your lens. Again, listen to what I say, don't do what I do. There we go. Ooh. Not so bad. I can work with that. I think. I may just start moving it around too much. Let me see. Okay. All right, let's get this dude in here. Yeah, normally when I'm assembling these and I'm sitting here taking my time and you know they're for me and stuff like this has to be glued in, I will squirt the glue on a toothpick and go in and put a small amount exactly. I'm much more careful, but what I've learned in shooting these videos, it's very hard for me to hold this stuff out to where you guys can see it, me do all of this, explain what I'm doing, and to be extremely careful. I do want to do some videos of actually doing some paint and finish work on these because I've been asked a bunch by everybody if I could show like painting process and get a little bit out there. Well, I'm making such a freaking mess of this. So, other words, don't do what I'm doing. Take your time. Use something to. Sorry. I was about to lose it there. Had no choice but to move off for a second. The activator won't hurt the acrylic lenses if you are using CA glue. So just FYI. But anyways, there's the lens in. So I was saying if you were to mount like a whatever color LED in here, whether it's green or red or something like that, have it light up like at 3 volts, low power it to where it's just, oh man, I don't know. I think it would be teetotal badass. So all right. Let's get that off to the side. And again, just do as I say, don't do as I do. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put the tube on here to show y'all kind of right now, instead of wait till I have the rifle all done and it's hard to see. You can just take the tube, and the tube will actually slide up into there. And while that's setting in there, you can take it, put just a little bit right here on this clamp, and take it and just lay it over there. You don't have to push it, like you're not tugging all this slack out and stuff or anything like that. You want it to hang natural. And so this will come down into here. Once it's up here, there's a clamp there, and it will go into that matching hole there, and it actually looks really, really cool. Okay, so there's the scope. So we're going to set the, well, actually one more thing. Sorry about that. Oh, okay, so this is one of the features that I was going to tell you guys about, and I'll show it to you with the rifles fully together. But one of the things that I found was on the old, God dang, what was the model number of the old heavy machine guns? Um, there was an old Russian one that had the mag that came out of the top of the machine gun and pointed up, straight up in the center. And how they did a sight was they had a sight that was offset to one side of the barrel, and they had a matching one in the back. So you were looking down the side of the gun instead of directly down the top of it. So I was like, okay, well, this has a big scope on it, but what if you need to say take a shot up close? What I did was up front on this barrel is the front sight, and once it's together, you'll kind of see better how it falls together. But there's a front sight, and then for the scope mount, and when we have it all together, I'll try to do a shot and look down the barrel. But if you were looking from, if I actually put it together correctly, if you're looking from the back side and you're looking down your barrel, here's your rear iron sight. And that rear iron sight lines up perfect with the front iron sight. So not only is there a scope on here, but you also have an iron sight as well. We're going to go ahead and glue this scope bracket on. And it just a little bit of glue in these channels. You can put it on backwards. That's literally what I did just a second ago. It doesn't quite fit correctly backwards, but it can be put on backwards. It pops in. You want the sight piece towards the back of the scope. The rectangle is the front of the scope, so we want to go to the back. Spray that a little bit. Okay. So now where we're at, when we mount all of this to the top of the body and stuff, you have this other piece that actually has screws that's in it, and now you have your actually mount. So, and I actually did with the top of the barrel on that what I did with the EE-3 and put some loops in there to make sure it holds everything. So we're gonna lay the scope off to the side. Where we left off was we were moving from the scope over to starting the main part of the barrel. So what we're going to want to do is grab you one of the metal tubes, and we're going to need the first three basic, I shouldn't say basic, the main parts of the barrel. What we want to do is go through here and the back barrel, this is where the metal tube actually stops in there. We want to make sure it's all clear and nothing needs to be cleaned. Make sure that everything slides through, doesn't get caught on anything, because we want to check this now, not when we're assembling it and we've got glue and all this other crap. But let's go ahead and we'll go through all these parts real quick. Okay. Let's get some more here. Double check all of these. That's got a little bit of a rim right there. So what we'll do is we'll take a little cleanup tool and just go around that edge, get that cleaned up. There we go. Check some of these other parts. Good to go. The rest of these are under barrel parts, so we should be good there. So we got good clear passage. Basically, in a nutshell, when you break over this barrel, this metal tube runs all the way down the inside of this barrel, all the way to the muzzle brake. And so there's a passage for you to run wiring all the way from the end of the barrel, all the way down through here, comes out into the chamber where the barrel will be at, and you can run the wire back around and down through that bottom half moon slot. The half moon slot matches up in here. Well, here, let's get the first part first. The half moon matches up to here and passes all the way through the body, and then passes into here, into this cavity right here, which is the mag well, where the mag will go in. Mag's hollow, plenty of room for electronics, batteries, anything in the world you want to put in there. But then the hole also continues forward and comes up through here, which is where our underbarrel's at. So then the wiring can be turned all the way through here. It can stop in the mag, or mag will come through here and come into here, which will have another screw on. That is the foregrip, the underbarrel, where your hand would rest while you're holding the rifle forward. It's got some slots in there, so like if you wanted to make it kind of light up in here or something, if you wanted to, you could. Just various different things. I wanted to put as many things that I could think about in here as far as wiring passages and stuff like that to you know, so whatever you guys decide you want to do, you have the freedom to be able to do. So let's go ahead and get this first part glued together here. What it is, these two pieces, they don't go together but one way. I did that mainly to help myself, but you know, because I know I've glued plenty of things together wrong. So I try to key all these things to where they only fit together one way. Now, granted, you could glue it together that way, but it's not going to fit. If you do, we may have to have a talk about, you know, some things, you know, come on. But so let's go ahead and get this all glued together here. And so basically, we're not going to be cheap on glue at these points, just because, well, we don't want glue in the barrel, in the middle barrel passage right there. That is not what we want. And let me get a little activator on there. Let's get that pushed together and kind of wiggle it to smoosh all the glue around. We're going to give it a minute to start setting up, and it's already set up. All right, so where we're at right now is this is one of the important parts, is we want to get the barrel seated and make sure there's no glue in there. If you notice the barrel, you can see in there, it comes back and it stops right there. So this is what you're looking at. When you do the breakover of the rifle, you'll look down in there and you can see all the way down to the tip of the barrel if you wanted to. So this right here, what we're going to do is I'm going to take glue and put it all around this edge, just a bunch of it. And then I'm going to take this rod and rotate it down in there. And the reason I'm going to rotate it is going to smear the glue evenly. If you put the glue on this rod right now and slide it in there, you're going to scrape half of it off. You're going to have a big puddle. So let's just get, I'm smelling to make sure that all the activator, as much of it as can be, is the last thing I want to do is put a bunch of glue and slide down in there, and the activator's already set it up, started setting up, and causes me one hell of a headache. Everything looks good. All right. So what I'm going to do here is we're only worried about the rod right now, so I'm just going to put a big ass bead in there. I'm going to take this rod real quick and I'm going to spin it. Keep spinning it. I'm going to let it set. Spray some activator and it'll, boom, it's set. And now let me get the glue that ran out the back. And it looks like a big ass mess, and well, it is a big ass mess. But again, this is a very important contact point. That you want to make sure is very secure. Cure all that's on my fingers. So again, that's what I was talking about. There's certain points that you just don't want to be cheap on, and that's not this connection right here. That is going to facilitate the majority of your. That's going to facilitate the strength that we're building down this barrel. So you know. I'll have a good couple hours worth of picking time to get glue off my fingers. Okay. Sick. Ugh. Look at that. Hang on. That's what happens when you forget to grab your little disposable rags real quick to wipe that stuff up instead of using your fingers to do it. But whatever. Thing is, I can't get any more on there. Well, I mean, I can, but can't make it any worse, I should say. All right, so what we're wanting to do now is we want to glue this connection to here. We want to make sure that we get a really, really good connection down here. We're not worried about glue down this right now. That's not a concern of ours. Now, when we're putting some glue here, we can go ahead and spread some glue if we want. But our point right now is we want to make sure that this flat surface and this inner surface is connected. But we want to just make sure that all of our surfaces have a good connection when we're doing all of this. So we're going to quickly put some glue all around the edge. I'll go ahead and drop some down in there. We're going to take this bad boy. We're going to wiggle it. We're going to get it down in there. And I am going to... Right. So now we have a really good connection there. All right. So our next part is this, which this is where I said I was going to kind of explain some of, I'm not trying to make it long-winded or anything. I just explain some of these cool little details and stuff. This part is kind of like a heat sink off of an AK 7.62 variant that was a sniper rifle variant they did. So what I did was I incorporated a gas block while incorporating these black metal cover on here with, you know, these retaining rings and stuff that holds the cover onto the inside of the barrel and onto the gas block that's in there. So, and that's kind of just a reproduction of like an old World War II gas block that has the hex key, where they would take a hex key and turn that, and they would adjust the gas blowback for the gases from the barrel that kicks the chamber back to reload the next round. So I just thought that was kind of cool. I incorporated that. There's some more other aspects here, and I'll kind of go over it as we get there and stuff. But right now, what we're wanting to do is we want to make sure this connection, my key at. Oh, there it is. So we want to make sure that that's all together right there. We want a good connection back here. And what it is, I got a little bit of glue that was on that edge that got on the edge of the pipe from sliding it on there. So really what we want to do right now is I'm just wanting to put glue down in this edge, down in here, and a little bit on the outside, because the outside makes contact. So if you put it together and just pay attention to how it fits together, you want to make sure that you put glue on the outside of this, because you want it to contact this. Again, the whole purpose is we're wanting to make sure that we make contact with every surface that actually touches, because the more area that's covered, the stronger our joints are here. So we're going to put that in there. And what happened there is when I put glue down around the side of the metal tube and on the outside edge, when I put it together, it just squished up and it connected this to the metal tube, what was left of the metal tube right there. So our big part is right now is we just want all this to set up. Because then we're going to make the next step, putting that down in here. And this is where I've got a lot of glue down in there. And I'm trying to prevent from spraying activator down in here right now, because that's going to delay me adding glue and sliding the rod down in there. Because if I spray it down in there, I'm going to have to wait for it to set up, or wait for it to fully evaporate before I start putting glue in there and start trying to put this rod down in there. There we go. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to slide this down. Sorry about that. I know it's loud, but I want to make sure that I'm tapping the other metal rod, that I'm not hitting like a ball of glue or something in there. I want to make sure that I got free reign to get down there to where I need to go. So what I'm going to do now, and it's going to, I can't really do it on camera. I'm going to have to pull it off to the side of the tail because we're getting so long, is I got to put a bead of glue in here and slide this metal rod. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to put a bead of glue and I'll come back and I'll slide the rod down on there, and we'll go from there. All right. I'm going to spin this a little bit. And again, I'm normally I would spray this rod and let the activator go ahead and get down in there and set the glue. But if I spray it, then I'm going to have to wait between each part we do. Because if you start trying to put glue on a part and slide it on something that already had a little activator on it, it's going to start activating it. And you want to talk about opening up a whole can of issues and problems. That's, you don't want to. This is not somewhere where you want to rush this process. So I'm trying to minimize the things that's going to lengthen the process, so you guys don't have to sit here through hours, or, well, I'm sure the video will be well over an hour for assembling this. That's okay. In fact, I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute while it's doing that. It ain't going nowhere. So now this is the gas block piece. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put some glue right around here. Make sure I get it on this edge that's going to mate up against there. But I also want to get it on the edge that's going to mate up against there. Here's the thing. We want to stay away from getting it anywhere close to this edge, so when we slide it on, we don't smear it down this rod. Because if we smear it down this rod, the next part is going to have a hard time fitting. We'll have to take a razor and clean it off. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you smear some on here. You can take a flat razor and just easily, and it comes right off. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's still setting up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take glue and put it all down in here. Down that, gob it in, and then I'm going to slide the part on. You can do it either way, but you're safer by doing it here instead of on the part, and like I said, getting it on the rod. So I'm going to bring this off real quick just so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Put some glue around my edges. And there's plenty of glue in there. You take my bad boy and slide it down on there. Now, while I'm holding this, I'm going to go ahead and hit this down here with some activator. All right. So now we're starting to take shape here. It's got some nice good weight to it. There we go. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, this is the next piece that has the front iron sight on it. That goes on next. What we can do, and what I really meant to do, was check, make sure everything was cleaned with you guys here before we got too far, which it all is. Before we get this, we can't put this on until we build the underbarrel up. And because this is the cap for the underbarrel as well. So what we're going to want to do is, our underbarrel just sets in this groove right here. So we're going to want to come in here, and what I'll do is I'll put a bead of glue on the edge. That way when we put that on, it compresses outward on the top edge and down on the inside as well. And I know some of you guys are veteran builders, and what I'm saying is kind of, but I have to speak to everyone, because none of us started out as veteran builders. So I'm just going to put that on. All right. I'm just going to hold that for a second. And again, I thought it's kind of cool. You got the passage that can come all the way up in there, and it's nice and wide, so quite a few wires can fit all through these passages. And again, you know, you guys will be doing this at a little bit slower pace. I'm doing it at faster than what I would, because normally these most most of this would be painted. And so I'm would be putting together painted parts. So I wouldn't. Now this back here, I'm going to get gooey with it no matter what, because whatever comes out the back, I'm not going. It's not going to hurt anything that I painted. Might get some on the chamber in here that I don't want, but that's not going to hurt anything. But overall, we would all be taking our time a little bit on here. The rest of the underbarrel here, this part I actually modeled off of another LMG, old World War II LMG. For its underbarrel, it had this ring, and 9 times out of 10, it never had anything mounted on this ring. What this ring was, this was a tripod ring. So if they wanted to put a tripod on this LMG, and I modeled it exactly like what the ring is like on that LMG. So I just thought it was a really, you know, it's just another one of those cool little things that when you start looking at something and you're like, oh, that detail, that detail. I just want you guys to know what these details are and where they came from. And at the end of the video, I'll try to include some of the pictures from my reference folder at the end of the video, so you guys can see kind of where I got the inspiration for most of this. So let's go ahead and get this put together. Now there is a hole. If you'll notice, there's a hole that goes all the way through the center and into here, but at the end it just dead ends at this. That hole, now you could ram wires or something through it if you want to, but that hole was never intended for that. That hole is intended to add to the strength of this piece, because by putting a hole in there, I'm now doubling the number of walls that this piece has. So instead of it being outside perimeter walls and a bunch of infill, it's outside perimeter walls, inside perimeter walls in a certain size diameter with infill in between that. So basically, in effect, I've doubled what the strength of this would be. So when we put this together, we want to make sure not only are we getting glue down here, but we want to make sure that we mate this surface to that surface. And again, you know, if you're putting this together, well, you would be putting this together if it's painted. Some of y'all may assemble this and then do the paint work on it, which, I mean, I would probably do that on this part as well. But, you know, it's more about being cautious when you're doing the gluing. And I'm kind of like not being as cautious as I would be. Now, I put the seam on these parts on the top, and the reason being is because once you glue this together, the seam is up against there. Of course, you prime these parts, and the first time you run a piece of sandpaper over any of it just to knock the high spots of the primer off, those seams are completely gone as is. So, all right. And so this piece is going to go on there. So let's just check and make sure that when we press it down, it sets nice and perfect. So it does. Oh, gosh, dang it. A whole glob of glue right there, which I can clean it off. But again, I glue a piece on and I lay it down to move on to the next thing, which is not what I would normally do. I glue it on there and hold it and watch it and make sure that it's all setting up properly. Hold this, let set real quick. Okay. So it's set and it's attached. All right, so where we're at now is we're going to slide this on here. The next piece that goes on is this piece, and this piece is actually also taken from an older AK-762 sniper rifle as well. It had a barrel piece that had this, it's not a I don't want to say hexagon, there's way more indentions in it than that, but it had this fluted almost cover over the actual steel barrel, and then it had this piece that was on and crimped. So that's what I really liked the way that looked on the front of the barrel of that old gun. So I wanted to replicate that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put some glue on the metal rod and where this is going to go, and then put some glue in this pocket. And the reason we're not going to put the glue here is, again, we don't want to smear it on here. We want to slide it down and make contact down there. And then, of course, we got to make contact with that. So we just get to do some quick maneuvering real quick. I'm not going to talk that much right here. I'm going to do this. If you miss some of it, I'm sorry. It's just, it's one of these parts that we don't want to screw up. There we go. Just one of those parts that I can talk now after I've got that on there. We're going to let that set up. And so now what we did was we made connection between the metal rod, this piece, the metal rod, this piece up front, and then this piece and this piece. So we connected all the metal rod and these two pieces fully there, which is what we did here, which is what we did here. So as we're going, we're connecting, and got a little glue to my hand. All right, so that's all nice and solid and locked in. So now what we're looking at doing is we're going to get our front barrel on, and then at that point, the last thing for us to do is put our muzzle brake on, which I think is kind of freaking cool. But all right, so what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to put the glue all down around here and on the middle bar, and then slide it down. And actually, I take that back. On this one, I want to put the glue down in here and slide it on because I want this metal to contact all the way in here, because this is going to be our last point of contact, where this down here was our first point of contact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squirt all down in here, get that closed up, and get it on as quick as I can. So give me just a sec. All right. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and hit this with some activator without squirting myself in the face. And I've been asked a bunch, when am I going to go back to streaming while I do modeling and stuff? And that's coming here real soon. It's just this year has been so freaking busy, and I've been doing so many things as far as upgrading, building all new printers in my print farm, and getting all that upgraded and situated and straightened out. And so that's coming. It's just it's hard to find time to sit down and do all that stuff, actually live stream while I'm doing it, because 9 times out of the 10 I'm doing modeling work, you know, while I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. You know, I'll all day long I'm in and out of the shop, back and forth between my office, the shop, doing this, making changes, that, updating that, changing this, you know. And it got a little much to be doing the live streaming and doing all of this, but that was also because I was trying to do updates and upgrades, and like I said, build a bunch more printers, and it's been quite hectic. So now I'm gonna go ahead and I guess put the muzzle brake on. So on this one, we want to make sure not only do we get glue down around the edge, but we're going to put a little bit up on the lip. So, because again, every point of contact that we can get glue, that's just the stronger that we're making this. And again, with these metal rods, these tubes down the inside of the barrel, this thing's already going to be strong as can be. But see, this where the issue I'm running on is I'm building a new camera like scaffolding, so I can increase the distance away, because hell, this is only the front half of the rifle, So I got to get the other half in there. All right. So what we're going to go ahead and do is real quick before I glue the mag in and that I'm going to screw this on real quick, which is just 2 of the Phillips screws. And again, this is just a removable hatch so that you have the option to do whatever it is that you want to do. Like I said, here in a minute, I'll show you the painted version that Michael at Fan Fiction Props did, which he did a freaking outrageous job. Wonderful, wonderful job. I got glue on the end of my fingers, and so I've lost some touch sensitivity there. All right. So now we've got our undergrip on. Nice solid. So when you're holding it, it's rifle out like that. So, okay. So now we're going to want to go ahead and put the mag on here. And again, you have full access to the whole cavity inside the mag. It's totally empty. So what we're going to do, go ahead, put us a nice super duper thick bead of glue all around in there. Yay. There we go. And slide the mag in. Whoops. Sorry about that. I literally hit the hit the camera mount from over here. That camera mount's about 4 feet that direction. All right. Cool. There's our mag. We want to mount the scope real quick. We'll mount this scope. We need, there's 5 of these socket screws. Come on. Come on. There you go. They're 20 mil sockets. Hey, look at my fingers. Anyways, let me grab the appropriate bit here. Actually, you know what? Before I even do that, let's put the little cover on the mag. Let me get my. I can't feel anything with those few fingers that I got glue all over. Anyways, so here's our little mag cover. Goes in right there. Clean all this off real quick. Okay. Trying to do this on camera, but I try to do this and not hit and knock everything in the world off. Got a bunch of support material. Sorry, hang on. Just a sec, I'm still here, promise. I should have cleaned up my the mag better. I did not do a good job of cleaning this mag up. I'll come back to that in a sec. Anyways, let's get our little bracket here. If you notice, it has teeth. The teeth need to go inward because it will kind of match up with pinching on this rail. Get these, and all I'm doing here is I'm going to screw in the 4 that actually go on this little bracket. Now these are kind of long-winded like the flat blades were, but they are sockets. So it's it's nowhere a pain in the butt like the other was. Basically, we don't have to tighten all 4 of these down all the way yet. Because we actually need it to spread open a bit to pop onto that rail because it actually does fit the rail. Cool for a second. Yeah, what the concept artwork that he did for the game when he did the a rifle based off of the EE-3. There were a lot of things about his rifle that I loved, and I know that the artwork wasn't finished. Like I'm sure there was a lot more details added to it. One of the things, or would have been added to it, one of the things that I really liked was the shape of the front of his scope that he had on there, and so I wanted to incorporate that in there in the flattening of it. I thought it was really cool, keeping it round on the side, flattening it out on the top. It makes it look like there's more functionality in this scope than just looking through and it's magnified. But you know, with everything Star Wars related, whether it's the multiple lines for the reticles or different feed outs and just different cool stuff like that. So, and that kind of to me fed into that whole thing, which was pretty cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is they're not all the way in yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to back the dang thing up because I done got it set on there too tight. Is what I did. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and find that hole real quick. And not only does this bracket squeeze onto the barrel like a scope bracket would, but it also goes through these holes that's in the bracket. So even if they were loose for some reason and not squeezing tightly, it still won't come off because it's gone through those loops. Down in here. And also just to note, if when you guys are assembling the barrel and the rod, if y'all choose to use like epoxy because it has a longer set time and you don't have to be in any kind of hurry, I mean, it's perfectly fine. As long as it's plastic / metal epoxy, I mean, you're good to go. Again, it's not about the race. It's about how you finish it, so. And again, I know some of y'all be tempted to take your little bit and throw it in a drill and run these in. Don't do it. I'm already generating enough heat as it is, just twisting these in by hand. And trust me, they've got plenty of bite and they ain't going nowhere. When you guys finally bottom one out, you'll see that you can torque the piss out of it. So all right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring our hose down. We're going to go ahead and get it all set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it into the hole here first, and then we'll adjust our tension. Again, like I said, oh, also note where I was telling y'all about the hole that goes into the scope. This hole actually goes inside the mag. So this follows all the way through, so you can push a wire all the way in there if you would like to. Push that in there and just let it set for a sec. And all right, and so this one, we just want to kind of pull it, kind of give us a little, you know, we don't want anything pulled and kinked or anything. We want it to kind of flow naturally there. So put our little dude there. I'll lay that down in there. All right. Let me see if I can get this dang door. Problem is I didn't clean up here, and it's a pain in the butt for me to get to now. So again, perfect time to remind you guys, always check everything first before you assemble everything, because this is what you run into. I'm probably knocking the camera down. Find this screw, and the screw is the last Phillips screw. Gonna need, and again the hatch just screws on there. Back over here so you guys can so there. I can honestly tell you guys that I don't think I've ever been as happy with the way something has turned out as I have been with this. Let's get this back on here, and then I'm going to show you guys the painted one. So this is what I was talking about, transport. At least you can break it down into this part pretty damn easy. To basically take it apart, that's literally all there is to it right there. And so we're going to take this. I'm going to take this right here, push up on the body, and we're just going to drop everything because my hands have no grip because I've got super glue all over them. Okay. Break over. Latch. And if you're worried this latch, you will break something on the rifle trying to get it to unlatch without pushing that button down. That's all I'm going to say. But So you have down in your barrel for, well, I cannot maneuver this in here and show you guys, but so we're going to latch it together. So there is the rifle. There's how it fits, like perfectly in your hand. Let me see. I know it's impossible to show you guys this. Don't worry, I'm going to take a bunch of pictures, and I'm actually shooting a video tomorrow if it's nicer outside of the painted version. But you see the iron sight to the side, and when you hold this up like you're shooting it, you can look perfectly down this. And like I said, it comes down and shows the front sight perfect. Actually, let me pop that on there. So this is what we're looking at here. But let me show you something absolutely cool. Like I said, Michael at Fan Fiction Props knocked this shit out the park. I want you to look at this thing. I want you to look at this incredibly beautiful, beautiful, unbelievable job that he did on this. He could not have captured any more what was in my brain than what he did. And again, still all latches, pulls over. I'm going to say that this damn thing is epic as crap. It's I don't know. I love it, and he did the whole thing justice, and I appreciate the shit out of him for it. But I'm going to shoot some videos so you guys can see the whole thing at once. But I just wanted y'all to get a little peek of that. So again, you remember you have the bolt here that this will hang off the back of, and I actually have some pictures that Michael took with it hanging off the back of his Mandalorian set with helmet and everything on, and it freaking looks awesome. But anyways, guys, there is 180 hours worth of production time in every one of those. This affectionately has been named the EE-TR3. That's the model number that I've given it. So I hope you guys love it. Like I said, I'm going to put some more out there. Oh, I actually forgot to glue these on real quick. This edge right here goes up towards the top. So let me go ahead and glue those on, because by golly, it would not be a completed assembly video without putting those on. We all need our little F4 Phantom airplane model pieces. That was the good old day of kit bashing. And same thing. This part goes down. This part goes facing up. So let's put this on. And this is kind of like the badges of the car. It's the last thing gets done. And I promise you guys, I'm not this sloppy when I'm actually setting down like building and stuff. It's just a pain in the butt to deal with something this size and try to keep everything for you guys to be able to see, and to do it in a time frame that I don't bore the crap out of you guys. I hope y'all love it. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for future things, because I'm really going to be turning up the heat as far as doing a lot more custom bounty hunter, Mandalorian / that part of the world universe So let me know if you guys have any ideas. Thank you very much, and I hope y'all enjoy it.